And I say that the consecrated people are not obedient. We have seen that when the Spirit blew, everyone fell silent. Well done. I would simply like to welcome the Undersecretary of the Catholic Education, Father Vecchino. Where is he? There he is. He will accompany us also as representative of Catholic education. We would also like to thank him for his attendance. Yesterday we had the Secretary of Laity, Family and Life. Welcome back. We are living an experience of communion, which is necessarily limited because of the time schedule. In fact, we cannot include the richness of who we are. Now, in the groups, in the working groups, the main words emerge to describe one's own vocational experience. So let us begin with the reports from the groups, and we will start from the forms that are most numerous here. I would like to remind you that the 11 groups of the religious institutes, just like the 5 groups of secular institutes, well, they developed together what they are going to tell us now. And in order to stick to our schedule, I remind every moderator that he or she only has 10 minutes. Let us therefore begin with religious institutes. It will be appropriate for the next groups to prepare and to come forward next to the microphone. Good afternoon.
Bene. Como decía Carmen,
Well, as Sister Carmen said, we tried to make a summary of the questions. There were 11 groups represented in our working group that in turn represented institutes of religious life. This summary does not express the richness of the various working groups. And I believe that when you listen to me, especially those who took part in this dialogue, we will realize that what I said is actually true. I will try to read what we have summarized in the knowledge that there are still many pending issues. There are things that have not been mentioned, however, but because we simply put together what is common to all the religious institutes. We started from our life experience, and what we present is not lived by us. We reached this conclusion starting from our experience, from our lived experience, and also starting from the path that Liz had. So after this introduction, I will start with my summary. Religious life is made up by men and women who, after hearing the call of God, and who, after experiencing his unconditional love, have become prophetic signs that manifest a zeal, a passion for men and humanity. We wish to express this passion in a public gift, in an eternal, perpetual gift, living in fraternity and being present in those places where life is present, in the desert, in the outskirts, and so on. Prophetic mysticism is inherent to this state of life, and it requires of us, both men and women, that we learn to look at the world through the eyes of God, by discovering the presence of God in history, by committing ourselves, starting from thanks to the heart of God. Our presence is the incarnation of the way in which God lived. He was obedient to the Father, he was close to all human beings, and he sacrificed his life for all. Religious consecrated men and women are missionaries. We follow in the footsteps of Jesus, the missionary of the Father, and we intend to live in a dynamic unity. The service. And also, Saint Teresa of Jesus said that this means to be alone with the one who loves us. Consecration, the mission in consecrated life, fuel one another. They are mutually enriching. So the more consecrated we are, the more missionary we are. And the more missionary we are, the more consecrated we are. Consecration can be lived out in a dynamic of growth, of continual growth, that leads us to overcome every ambiguity, individualism, and even professionalisms. We follow the Spirit that is at work in us so that we may transform the world. Every charism manifests all of these with its specific characteristics. For us, men and women, religious, living communion in fraternity is part and parcel of our lifestyle. It is a communion that is intended as an expression and manifestation of the Trinitarian communion, in which unity doesn't take anything away from diversity. In a divided world in which solitude is present, the religious, both men and women, are called to build spaces of unity and to be an accompanying presence in various levels, in various sectors. Our communities are enlarging more and more because they offer our charisma, they offer listening. We are there to listen. All the people who, even without knowing it, are looking for God. The beauty of fraternity should make us understand that we should not lose sight of the one who has called us. So every day we need to build our lives on the strength of the gospel, on the strength of forgiveness. We need to accept our limits and appreciate our brothers and sisters, our community life. Community life is changing its face in a very rapid pace. This is something that we also mentioned this afternoon, because we realized that our face is changing because there are many different perspectives which are offered by God to us. And for instance, multiculturalism, which requires more flexible structures so that we may respond to different apostolic tasks. In our congregations, we have a high number of people who are sick. Then we are present in various places, in places which probably are not common, in unusual places, and we are really at the margins. And this changes communities, our communities, and according to some experiences that we heard, lead us to live our lives with other congregations and with the laity, again in function of specific mission and also in order to respond to specific needs. Religious men and women may be compared to a prism in which the light of the gospel produces different colors. And this is made possible thanks to the vows which for some are 4 and not 3. For all of us, the experience of the vows is a source of joy and freedom. It is an expression of the exclusive love that we have for the Father, Son, and the Spirit, and of their love vis-à-vis the men and women of our world.
Grazie.
Thank you.
Concuerdo con.
I agree with Monsignor Carvalho in saying that consecrated persons, sometimes we are obedient and we have followed the questions we were given, the topics to share. First question, we focused our attention on the following. We thought that the word that defines us as members of secular institutes is incarnated ferment, or yes, one aspect is making what God places in the world emerge, what He places in creation and in the hearts of people. And our task consists in welcoming Him and letting all this emerge. And in this relationship, we can identify 3 levels: recognizing God in history, daily life, passion, commitment towards the world, sharing what people experience. The spirituality of incarnation enlightens our vocational experience. And we follow Jesus in consecrated secularity to transform, heal, reconcile human realities with the strength of the gospel. And this is what we try to do every day. Our vocation is a vocation of synthesis of, and we heard this, between consecration and secularity, 2 parts of the same reality. In question number 2, concerning the dynamic between consecration and mission, we want to share with you, as the group of the religious did, we want to share with you the fact that consecration and mission are 2 realities. We are co-essential. We live consecration in the mission, and we carry out the mission in consecration. In secular institutes, we live a contemplation that is incarnated, and an incarnation of the contemplative type. And everything thanks to the redemption of Christ. Nothing of what is human and secular lies outside the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And so through our service to daily life, we contemplate how God acts in all situations, and where His presence is revealed. What we contemplated in the world, we incarnate and bring it before God in our prayer. We discern it in light of the Word, and we get back to the world. More contemplation, more incarnation in the realities of the world. Question number 3, our opinion on the word that defines us all is connection. Common life is not essential, but fraternal life is essential for secular institutes, and it is a defense, a protection against self-referentiality, selfishness, and it allows members to grow and sustain their vocation. It's a space to exchange and to discern. We consider fraternity, brotherhood, as something that gives us strength and that makes connection, relation towards various directions possible for the Institute itself, and it increases the sense of belonging. Our fraternity is a ferment of fraternity in the world. The experience of personal relations where we work makes our fraternity more trustful, stronger. Living fraternity in diversity is a mark of universal fraternity, the dream of God for whole creation, for the whole of creation. Question number 4. Our word is the following. So what is the expression of the vows? For us, the key words are the face, the expression of everyday life, our being, our presence, what we share with the world, what we are, what the world sees about us. In the institutes, we try to live our vows in secularity and try to live our daily lives, which also tells us how to live our vows. The diversity of our vocation has also an impact on the diverse way in which we live poverty, obedience, and chastity in the various institutes. But still, we must be. This must be a pathway that eliminates feelings of possession. We are here to serve our Lord based on these 3 vows. Thank you. And now it's the turn of the Ordo Virginum.
Buonasera a tutti.
Good evening to everyone. The words we identified, I will tell them all, and then you will find them in my presentation. And they are sponsality, maternity, communion, and totality. We all know that Ordo Virginum originates historically in apostolic community, that it developed during the patristic age. It was forgotten during the Middle Ages, and it flourished again in the Church after the Second Vatican Council, following the revision of the ancient liturgical ritual of Consecratio Virginum. 50 years ago, the ritual of consecration was promulgated, and Ordo Virginum has already reappeared all over the Church. There are consecrated virgins in the 5 continents, in many dioceses, in ecclesial contexts, social ones and cultural ones as well. They are very different from one another. During the year of consecrated life, statistical data estimates the presence of over 5,000 consecrated virgins. It is also known that it is a specifically female vocation. This feature may help the Church to better understand and enhance the presence of women. The consecration rite is for us a fundamental reference point in which we find again the typical features of our form of living that I will try to sum up, particularly considering what emerged during our group work this morning. Given the oblivion in which Ordo Virginum had fallen for centuries, we're not surprised that its reappearance was accompanied by a certain amount of difficulties in understanding its specific features and its unique ecclesial layouts. If in its essential elements we are talking about the same time of life of the Christian virgins, the women who today embrace it, and with them the whole Church reproposing it as a real way of living the Sequela Christi, they are called upon to interpret it according to the needs of the current historical era, because for the very Virgin, It has to be an experience of evangelical life, and as such, it has to bear witness to the gospel to the people of our times. The typical trait of the consecrated virgin in a relationship with the world is being a mark of the sponsal, virginal, and fecund love uniting Christ and the Church. The consecrated virgin, in fact, is an image of the Church itself. And as a consequence, she experiments and testifies to the fact that through virginity, it is possible to live with the novelty of the gospel, renewing oneself constantly and being transformed by grace, persevering in faithfulness, and anticipating the realities of the kingdom. Because it is an eschatological image of the sponsal church, the consecrated virgin is called upon to being in the world as the church itself, participating in the joys and in the hopes, in the sadness and in the angst of their contemporaries, particularly the poorest ones. For this reason, she is called upon to embrace the challenges of the current world and its reality, living the dynamics and the paradoxes of what is here and what is yet to come. The dynamics that mingle consecration and mission is a movement that is promoted by the Spirit, which in everybody's charism, it fulfills the call to spiritual maternity that becomes welcoming, evangelization, consolation. Through prayer, we grow in our belonging to Christ, and we learn to perceive that the world belongs to us because it belongs to the spouse, bridegroom. And so we are brought to share his compassion for every human being, his love for every human being. Ecclesial tradition concerning Ordo virginum does not provide for insertion in a group of faithful with an internal hierarchy, nor does it set out a specific commitment to living out evangelical counsel according to rules or constitutions approved by the Church, and therefore according to a common spirituality and common forms of service. There is therefore a multiplicity of charisms within the Ordo Virginum itself. It is a consecration that is lived out within the people of God and entrusted to the pastoral care of the diocesan bishop. Our pathway of the past few years is leading us to discover what is the meaning of being an ordo in the Church, an order, and therefore to feed sorority also through meetings of prayer, sharing, formation at the diocesan level, at the national level, and also at the international level. And for this rooting in the particular church, the church itself can rediscover that it can be erected also by the offering that consecrated virgins make out of their lives, not only for their commitment to fill with the gospel the life of the Christian community, making it a place where you experiment the gift of fraternal communion, but also for their testimony, for the way in which they are involved in the events of the human community with which they share history as the diocese. Starting from this ecclesial rooting, they become educated to create connections of friendship and opening up to everyone based on the gospel. Every consecrated virgin is called upon to make discernment, even with the help of the bishop, in order to understand how to participate in the universal mission of the Church. The commitment we take with the Sanctum Propositum can be summed up by the dimension of totality, in the sense that all our existence becomes a gift of oneself, of ourselves, a spousal gift. So our Sequela Christi implicitly summarizes the three evangelical counsels and the grace of consecration, places us on the horizon of eternity.
Grazie.
Thank you. And now the new forms.
Buenas tardes y muchas gracias. Las nuevas
Good afternoon. Thank you. New forms of consecrated life. The words we shared, we talked about Trinity, communion, family, and sanctity. Our group was made up by 32 people coming from 11 institutes. So what is specific about our presence in the world today? This reality that are widely different, this diversity of ecclesial families, is made up of men and women belonging to different states of life. We are called upon to testify to what it means to be a man or a woman, starting from the Christian anthropology, living the mystery of the Church as the family of God amidst the world. We hope that communion and Trinity mark the relationship among the members of our institutes. From this communion, what emerges is the desire for an inner life that has to be contemplative and strong, and a brotherly dimension and a missionary impulse. All this is an eloquent sign in a world that is fragmented and self-centered. Our form of life tries to show the world the form of the Trinitary love, which is paternity, brotherhood, and gift. It tries to live the Word of God incarnated in history, and it tries to bring the maternal presence of Mary in the merciful welcoming and reception of people who have been wounded, the showing sanctity and beauty of marriage and the family amidst the current crisis. The dynamics between consecration and mission, well, we were consecrated for the mission. Consecration is mission. And living consecration in communion makes us sign and testimonies of unity in the world. The mission comes from contemplation. Some institutes are contemplative, while others are marked by a missionary dimension. The goal of the mission consists in making the absolute of God shine in the world. We give great importance to a life of continuing prayer and intercession. We are called upon to be witnesses of how to live the universal calling to sanctity, all starting based on their own state of life and on their charism. Complementariness among the various states of life is also a missionary testimony, and this is expressed through the various tasks, apostolates, and missions. With reference to brotherly life, our fraternity comes from an awareness and a life rooted in the Trinitary communion, and we feel we are a family. We make a distinction between common life and brotherly life, and fraternity is not just loving each other and holding each other in our esteem. It's a spiritual bond that has got practical consequences in the form of belonging to an institute. We all feel members in our full rights. In formation, we all are formed for the charismatic mission we have. In governance, we all feel responsible for the charism and the mission of the institute, exerting governance depending on one's characteristics. In administration, with economic cooperation and participation in the management of assets and property. In the mission, all according to their own status, and in fraternity, we realize the single mission of the Institute. Some typical signs of the fraternity are, depending on the type of institute, reconciliation as a sense of community, as a meaning of community life, ecumenical reception in a Catholic community, living synodality in daily choices and decisions, in wanting to be a sacrament of the Trinitary love in our daily lives. As to vows as the expression of Sequela Christi, we can say that our consecration is charismatic, as we said yesterday. An ecclesial family made up of people with different states of life that are called upon to live the radicality of baptism depending on the different charisms. We all live evangelical counsels according to our own state as married or unmarried people. Married people live the sacred bonds, and depending on their condition, which is different compared with that of unmarried people. Married people live the spirit of the vows with fidelity to their own charism, and they feel called upon and consecrated to live the radicality of baptism within their families, in a world that has lost the meaning of being a family. On the other hand, in addition to the Sequela Christi, we also speak about Sequela Trinitatis, in the image of the Trinity, in the image of the Sacred Family, the Church, the first Christian community. To give you some examples, an institute can express vows in terms of covenant. We live the same covenant with Jesus, all according to our own state of life. The unmarried with the vows, and the married people with their covenant. Another institute sees evangelical counsels as the expression of a single vow of perfection in love, as an aspiration to sanctity, holiness, poverty, chastity, and obedience are lived according to one's status, and as a concrete expression of these evangelical counsels, we consider poverty as sharing spiritual and material goods, poverty lived with a view to our mission, to fulfilling our mission. So having only what is essential for the mission. The married people, couples, share their goods with the Institute in different ways. Chastity is giving the value of the kingdom of God to this world, belonging to God and belonging to everyone. Couples live conjugal chastity with the prophecy of sponsor love, which is going to be lived out in the heavens. Obedience consists in walking together with mutual trust. It is active, and it's also responsible. We have to pay attention to the voice of the Spirit, and this voice is that of those who govern the Institute. And finally, we all want to live our vows as a means to live a life which is increasingly filial and fraternal. We are among our brothers and sisters, and we complete each other, living out these evangelical counsels depending on one's status of life, in order to fulfill our mission and to change the world according to the gospel. Thank you.
Diamo la parola alle società di vita.
Let us now give the floor to the next group of people, the smallest societies. It should be societies of Apostolic Life. associational movements. Interpreters apologize.
My name is Father Peter. The Societies of Apostolic Life is the smallest group, and we will also have the shortest report. In our group, we had 16 people representing about 10 different communities. A couple of the communities were among the original groups from the 17th century that became the first Societies of Apostolic Life as we know them today, and some of the groups were brand new Societies of Apostolic Life. Some were priest communities with brothers, some were consecrated laymen communities, consecrated laywomen communities, and consecrated sisters communities. So there was a great variety present there. Because we are the group which seems to have a lot of flexibility within the Societies of Apostolic Life, the feedback that I will provide is really what we agreed to as a group that was common among us as Societies of Apostolic Life. So I won't go into great detail with each answer, but will really provide the summary or essence of what was said. So to the first question of the specificity of Societies of Apostolic Life, it was believed that our specificity is found in relation to our presence and inclusion in the world in our mission, apostolate, and service of others, such that we live our consecration in fraternal community with the motive and intention of being able to serve others. We live our fraternal life and consecration at the service for the mission that we complete according to our proper law. So really it is all about the mission and apostolate. Secondly, what kind of dynamic between consecration and mission do you live? Our key words there were union with Christ in order to serve others. We believe that it is from our union with Jesus found in our consecration that we are able to live our mission, such that we live our mission in Jesus Christ, through Jesus Christ, and with Jesus Christ. The third question, based on our experience, what does fraternal life mean to us? The key words we came with were a communion of charity and friendship to support mission. Fraternal life for us is a living of the communion of charity, which is at the center of the Church and finds its origin in the Trinity. We pointed out that fraternal life is a mission in itself for the members, a mission that isn't always easy, but that needs to be worked on. That same fraternal life in itself is also meant to be a witness of communion in relationships to other people. And finally, fraternal life is also the place where we find our necessary support, encouragement, friendships, and accountability to live our mission well. And fourthly and finally, in our specific charism, how are the vows as an expression of the Sequela Christi considered? The key was, it is our path to conformity or union with Jesus. So the vows, or as some groups called them, their commitments or promises, are considered as the means or the path for us to become united to Jesus, to the Most Holy Trinity, in order to complete our specific mission. Our vows help to conform us completely to Christ so that we can then bring Him to others. So the vows help us to bring Christ to other people. Thank you.
Ed infine ascoltiamo quello che ci dirà.
Last but not least, let us now pass on to the moderator from the associations and movements.
Ecco, intanto buonasera a tutti, grazie.
First of all, good evening to everyone.
Che siamo onorati, privilegiati.
We are honored. We've had the honor and privilege to have been invited to this conference by the Dicastery because actually we are under the responsibility of the Dicastery of Laity, Family and Life. However, we have many things in common starting from the consecration of life, starting from the vows, the evangelical councils, and the life in common that so many associations and movements carry out. With regards to communion and fraternal life, I would like to say that today has been a wonderful experience of communion.
Sentiva che tra questi nuovi carismi
It was clear to see that among the many new charisms, communion is fundamental. It is really one of the building blocks of the new charisms. They cannot be alone. They are, let's say, condemned to live in communion. This is one of the distinguishing traits of these new realities, because communion is a wonderful witness. A communion that is implemented through the commandment of mutual love, because that is where communion springs from. Now, the first question we answered in this way. What is the specificity? Well, we believe that the specificity for our associations and movements is a gift to the world in the sense of the various aspects of human life, social, economic, political sectors, so all of the sectors that of human life. And this gift for the world is offered in communion with the other states of life. So here again we have the theme of communion. In other words, our experience is the following. We try to put together these two realities. So on the one side, we have this experience of contemplation. We contemplate God. However, we are still in the world. We are present in the world. So man next to another man. These are the two pillars that are at the basis of these our new movements. And then the second question, the dynamic. We believe the dynamic between consecration and mission. Well, consecration is for the mission, and mission helps, contributes, helps us live out our consecration according to our charism, because each and every one of us has met a charism. And someone said that in a charism we have a general end, which is the end of all the Christians, that is to become perfect in love and in charity. This is the main goal that we all have. And then all charisms also have a specific goal which varies from one charism to the next. So this dynamic reciprocity between consecration and mission ensures from this. Third question that concerns fraternal life. We are aware of the importance of always being a family, because we are the family of God. We have to offer the world our experience as a family. We have to bring this experience to the world. This is our goal. This is the only thing that we can provide to the world, an experience of family. A family that follows in the footsteps of Jesus. So this means that in our communities, we have to be ready to offer our lives for one another. The lay people, for the priests, the religious, for young people. And so this is fundamental, to be ready to give our lives, to offer our lives. And we believe that this is also the path to holiness. I don't think that God can ask us anything greater than this, offering our lives for the others. And then fourth question, the vows. Well, in our view, the vows are an answer to the call of God, again, depending on our charism, because there are various ways in which we can live out the vows. For instance, obedience can be lived out in different ways. Also, someone said that poverty. Poverty may seem something very cold, very juridical. To me, poverty means to give, to offer. So it is a positive concept, a positive idea of poverty. But when I give, I become poor. And these are nuances which are very important for young people. So in conclusion, we said that the vows are a powerful experience of freedom. I feel free when I abide by these three principles, by the three vows. So vows are a joy and a freedom.
Grazie sincero a
A warm thanks to all those who presented their works and to each and every one of you. And to end this day, we would like to pray together with the prayer of the Vespers. And we would like to ask all the moderators to hand over a copy of the text they wrote down, because this would be useful for us, and we get ready to pray the Vespers.